Have you ever felt your mind held back by an invisible barrier, as if there's a version of you out there who thinks faster, solves problems more effortlessly, and navigates life with unshakable clarity? You're not alone. That whisper of doubt that maybe intelligence is something you're born with or without can shadow every decision you make. But what if I told you that your mind isn't a fixed asset handed down at birth, but a muscle waiting to be shaped and strengthened? Imagine waking each morning knowing that every thought, every question you ask, and every moment of reflective silence is an opportunity to rebuild your mental edge. Stoic thinkers understood this centuries ago. Reason is not an inheritance, it's a responsibility. They dared to believe that discipline of the mind, practiced daily, could forge an intellect as sharp as a finely tempered blade. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to guide you through 15 Stoic lessons designed to unlock your hidden potential. These aren't abstract theories or distant philosophies locked away in ancient texts. They are living principles, tested by emperors, warriors, and ordinary people who discovered that true intelligence blooms when you take ownership of your inner world. We'll explore how intentional silence can reveal truths louder than any distraction, why returning to the beginner's mind ignites curiosity you thought you'd lost, and how simple acts of self-talk can rewrite the very software of your brain. You'll learn that your body and your mind are partners in resilience, that creativity is forged in quiet moments with art and music, and that questioning every assumption is the strongest defense against complacency. This journey isn't about turning you into someone else. It's about awakening the best parts of who you already are. It's about showing you how to step out of the autopilot of daily life and take the wheel of your own thoughts. By the end of this video, you'll see that intelligence isn't a distant prize reserved for the gifted. It's a skill you can cultivate, refine, and carry with you every day. So settle in, take a breath, and prepare to meet the version of yourself that thrives on challenge, embraces discomfort, and stands ready to shape each new thought into a stepping stone toward clarity. Your mind is clay. Let's begin molding it into something extraordinary. Lesson 1. Intelligence as your moral obligation, reason as your highest calling. You may have been told that intelligence is a gift reserved for those born under a lucky star. But what if I told you that reason isn't a privilege? It's a responsibility you owe to yourself and the world around you. The Stoics believed that the faculty of thinking clearly, of choosing wisely, sets you apart. As Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, the mind adapts and converts to its own purposes. The obstacle to our acting, the impediment to action, advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. That obstacle could be the lie that you're not smart enough. But when you embrace your duty to sharpen your reason, every challenge becomes a chance to strengthen your mind. A duty beyond talent. You don't need a genius IQ to start. Epictetus reminded us that it's not what happens to you, but how you react that matters. You have the power to respond, to analyze, and to learn. The moment you decide that thinking well is non-negotiable, you shift from passively inheriting ideas to actively choosing them. You become a guardian of your own intellect, refusing to let assumptions or inherited narratives dictate your potential. Personal story: the reluctant scholar. Consider the story of Julia, a graphic designer who never saw herself as academic material. She avoided books she thought were too dense and told herself that theory wasn't for her. One evening, she stumbled upon a quote from Seneca: "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." Something in that sentence arrested her. She realized she'd been postponing her own growth, waiting for some outer permission. The next morning, she journaled her first reflections on what happiness meant to her, and from that day she treated learning as an act of self-respect. Cultivating an inner standard. When you see intelligence as a moral obligation, you create an inner standard that no external event can erode. Failures become feedback, not proof of your limits. Difficult conversations become training grounds for clarity. Each time you pause to question an assumption, you honor that duty to yourself. It's like standing at attention for your own mind, committing to vigilance against mental laziness. Over time, you'll notice a shift. Your thoughts become more intentional, your decisions more aligned with your values, and your sense of purpose more anchored in reason. Quote commentary. As Epictetus advised, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. That simple prescription captures the essence of your moral obligation. Define the thinker you want to become, then take daily steps, however small, to embody that vision. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the quiet choices. Reading something challenging, reframing frustration as curiosity, or defending your focus against distraction. Practical steps to honor your duty. Morning reflection. Before your day begins, ask yourself, how will I use my reason today? Let that question guide your priorities. Challenge your assumptions. Whenever you notice a knee-jerk reaction, pause. Ask, is this belief serving me? You reclaim control over your mental software. Daily micro-study. Commit to 10 minutes of reading or journaling on a Stoic text. Each moment of focused thought reinforces your understanding that intelligence is cultivated. The emotional resonance. You might feel discomfort when you first adopt this mindset, like stepping into unfamiliar territory. That unease is evidence you're living your obligation, not retreating into comfort. Remember, the Stoics didn't seek ease, they sought growth. The gentle tension you feel is the anvil upon which your intellect will be forged. Invitation to the journey. Right now, you stand at the threshold of a new relationship with your own mind. This lesson isn't a lecture, it's an invitation to awaken to your potential. As you honor your duty to think with discipline and purpose, you'll discover that the very act of striving sharpens your inner world. You'll start to feel more connected to yourself, more equipped to navigate life's uncertainties, and more hopeful about the possibilities that lie ahead. Embrace this moral obligation today. Decide that your reason, your clarity, and your capacity to learn are worth guarding above all else. In doing so, you light the spark that will guide you through every subsequent lesson and through every challenge life presents. Lesson 2. Your brain, forever malleable. Your mind is not fixed. You may have believed that after a certain age, your capacity to learn peaks and then slowly declines. But modern neuroscience tells a different story. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself in response to your experiences. This quality, neuroplasticity, is the biological proof that you can reshape your mind at any stage of life. When you embrace this truth, every new challenge becomes an opportunity to sculpt your potential. Clay in your hands. Imagine your mind as a block of clay. Each time you push yourself to learn something unfamiliar, you press your fingers into that clay, molding it into new forms. If you stop practicing, the clay hardens into the same shape, rigid and unchanging. But with intention and consistent effort, you keep your mental clay soft and pliable, ready for innovation, insight, and growth. Quote, reflection. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca observed, our progress is not in enhancing what is, but in advancing toward what will be. He spoke of moral progress, but the same applies to your mind's physical structure. Every time you question a long-held belief, read a passage that challenges you, or face discomfort head-on, you're taking a hammer to old neural pathways, forging new ones in their place. A personal story. Consider David, a software engineer who felt stuck in routine. He believed that after 15 years in his field, his brain had settled into fixed patterns. One day, he decided to learn the cello, an instrument wholly outside his comfort zone. At first, his fingers fumbled over the strings and the sounds he produced were awkward. Yet each practice session, though fraught with frustration, built fresh connections in his brain. Within months, he noticed sharper problem-solving at work and an unexpected clarity in his thinking. That cello wasn't just a hobby. It was a catalyst for rewiring his entire mindset. Neuroscience meets Stoicism. Recent studies show that adults can generate new neurons in the hippocampus, the region linked to memory and learning. This process, called neurogenesis, is stimulated by mental challenge and physical exercise alike. The Stoics didn't have MRI machines, but they intuitively understood this dynamic. They wrote, questioned, and reflected because they knew the mind atrophies without deliberate effort. Their daily journals were exercises in mental plasticity long before the term existed. Practical steps to mold your mind. Embrace novelty. Seek experiences that make you feel awkward. Learn a new language, try a strategy game, or tackle a difficult book. Each moment of confusion signals that your brain is forming new pathways. Consistent micro-habits. 10 minutes a day of challenging mental work, memorizing a poem, practicing logic puzzles, or journaling deep questions adds up over weeks into profound change. Physical movement. Activities like brisk walking or yoga release growth factors that support neurogenesis. When you move your body, you nourish your brain. Emotional resonance. You might feel moments of frustration or self-doubt when pushing beyond familiar territory. That is precisely the sensation of transformation in progress. It's the tug of old neural circuits resisting change. Welcome it as a sign that you're alive to new possibilities. Cultivating patience and persistence. Rewiring your brain isn't an overnight event. Just as a sculptor chips away at a block of marble gradually, your neural architecture evolves through steady, sustained effort. Celebrate the small victories. A day when reading complex material feels less taxing, or when you solve a problem more creatively than before. These subtle shifts are proof that your brain is responding to your efforts. Stoic wisdom for modern growth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily to be like the rocky headland on which the waves constantly break. He saw each obstacle as an occasion for resilience. Let each challenge you face be that wave, wearing away old patterns and revealing fresh ground for your intellect to take root. Invitation to continue. As you accept that your brain is infinitely malleable, you step into a profound responsibility, the duty to shape your own mind. The next time you hesitate to learn something new because you believe you're too old, too busy, or too set in your ways, recall this lesson. Your potential is clay, and you hold the tool. Begin molding today, one deliberate action at a time. Lesson 3. Train your thinking like a muscle. Interrupt autopilot. Have you noticed how often your day unfolds on autopilot? Same reactions, same biases, same familiar conclusions. Those patterns feel safe because they demand no effort. But safety is the enemy of growth. Every time you accept your first thought as truth, you reinforce old neural pathways instead of carving new ones. To think like a champion, you must interrupt that autopilot. Question your first impulses. The Stoics believed that reason should govern emotion, not the other way around. Epictetus said, "It is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them." When you pause and ask, "Is this reaction serving me?" you step into the space between stimulus and response. In that space, you reclaim your power. Personal story. The email that sparked change. Consider Sarah, a marketing director who began her mornings by skimming emails over coffee. One day she received a curt message from a colleague and felt her chest tighten. Her first impulse was to fire off a defensive reply, but she remembered a question she'd been practicing. What is my goal here? Instead of replying immediately, she took a breath, waited an hour, and then crafted a calm response that resolved the issue. In that pause, she shifted from reaction to intention, an act of mental strength that rippled through her entire week. Forge new mental pathways. Imagine your mind as a forest. When you walk the same trail every day, it becomes well-trodden and easy. But new trails, fresh ideas, require cutting through underbrush and stepping over fallen logs. That effort feels awkward, even uncomfortable, but it's the birthplace of real insight. Each question you pose, each assumption you challenge, is like taking an axe to that underbrush, creating a path where none existed. Quote, reflection. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. When you learn to question that estimate, to scrutinize the story you're telling yourself, you exercise the very muscle that defines your humanity, disciplined thought. Practical steps to strengthen your mind. The 3-second rule. Before you respond to an email, an insult, a stressful situation, count to 3. In that small gap, you give your rational mind a chance to intervene. Daily journaling. Prompt. Each evening, write down one moment when you reacted automatically and one alternative response you could have chosen. This reflection rewires your brain for next time. Mental push-ups. When you catch yourself in a familiar emotional loop, worry, anger, envy, pause and ask, what evidence supports this feeling? What evidence contradicts it? This simple interrogation builds your cognitive resilience. Emotional resonance. You might feel a subtle tension when you first interrupt your reflexive thoughts. That tension is not discomfort for discomfort's sake. It's the stretch you need. Just as a muscle feels tight when it grows, your mind registers new activity as unease. Embrace that feeling. It means you're alive to change. Cultivating patience and persistence. Building mental discipline takes consistency. You won't notice a transformation after a single pause or journal entry. But over weeks, you'll observe fewer snap judgments, more thoughtful conversations, and a growing sense of calm in adversity. Celebrate the small victories. The moment you notice a bias, the second you choose a question over a complaint, the minute you opt for curiosity instead of frustration. Stoic wisdom in action. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." When you catch a worrisome thought spiraling, stop and ask, is this real? Is this useful? That practice isn't theoretical, it's the essence of Stoic freedom. You free yourself from self-imposed prisons by refusing to feed destructive narratives. Invitation to continue your mind is both the battlefield and the prize. Each time you pause, question, and redirect your thoughts, you claim a small victory for reason over habit. You're training a mental muscle that, with patience and persistence, will support you through every challenge life brings. Lesson 4. Embrace intentional silence. The power of quiet. You live in a world that prizes speed, instant messages, rapid-fire opinions, constant notifications. Yet beneath that clamor lies a space where your deepest insights await. Intentional silence isn't withdrawal. It's a choice to create room for clarity. When you turn down the volume of external noise, you tune in to the subtle rhythms of your own mind. A Stoic reminder. Marcus Aurelius instructed himself in Meditations. Nowhere can a man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. That retreat isn't a distant monastery. It's a moment you carve out right now, in the middle of whatever you're doing. By deliberately stepping into silence, you give your reason a chance to speak, unobscured by the chatter of habit, personal story, the morning pause. Imagine waking before sunrise, the world still cocooned in darkness. You sit quietly, not to escape life, but to greet it on your own terms. That simple practice transformed Elena's days. A graphic designer by trade and a mother by heart, she found herself overwhelmed by deadlines and household demands. One morning, she committed to 5 minutes of silence before checking her phone. Initially, her thoughts sprinted, reminders, worries, to-do lists. But as she returned to her breathing, the rush slowed. In that quiet, she discovered her true priorities, moments with her children, a project that truly inspired her, and the clarity to say no to what drained her. Silence as inquiry. When you sit in silence, you're not voiding your mind, you're inviting it to inquire. Epictetus taught, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so we should listen more than we speak." In silence, you listen not only to others, but to yourself. You notice recurring thoughts, hidden fears, and unanswered questions. These discoveries are precious signposts on your journey toward deeper self-knowledge. Cultivating a silent practice, scheduled stillness. Block out 2 to 5 minutes each morning or evening. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. When thoughts arise, acknowledge them without judgment and return to the inhale-exhale cycle. Silent transitions. Before moving from one task to the next, after a meeting, before starting an email, pause for a breath or two. That micro break creates a reset button for your mind, preventing the bleed-through of distraction. Mindful listening. In conversations, practice deliberate pauses. After someone speaks, resist the urge to reply immediately. Allow a fraction of silence where you fully absorb their words. Often, you'll respond with greater empathy and precision. Emotional resonance. You might feel a subtle restlessness at first, the itch of silence asking you to sit with discomfort, uncertainty, or raw emotion. That is exactly why this practice matters. In stillness, you confront parts of yourself you've long ignored, anxieties about the future, regrets from the past, or unspoken desires. By facing these under the calm lens of awareness, you begin to integrate them into your conscious narrative, rather than letting them steer you unconsciously. The discipline of silence. Silence demands discipline. It's easy to fall back into scrolling or multitasking, yet each time you choose stillness over stimulation, you strengthen a muscle of self-control. You prove to yourself that you can tolerate absence of distraction, and in that tolerance you cultivate resilience. In the words of Seneca, "He who is brave is free." True bravery lies in sitting quietly when the world urges you to fill every moment with action. Real-life examples, athletes and focus. Top performers often use brief moments of silence before a race, a match, or a performance to center themselves. In that space, they visualize success, regulate their nerves, and align mind and body. Writers and creativity. Many authors begin with a silent ritual, a walk without a podcast, an hour without news, to let ideas surface organically. They find that breakthrough insights rarely emerge in a crowded mind. Invitation to reflection. Right now, take a breath and notice how you feel. Are you light, restless, curious? Those sensations are messages from your inner world. In the coming days, honor them with intentional silence. Carve out small sanctuaries of quiet and watch how your mind shifts from reactive to reflective, from scattered to centered. Lesson 5. The Daily Forge of Wisdom. Consistency over inspiration. You might believe that brilliance arrives in sudden flashes, an unexpected insight, or a dramatic breakthrough, but true wisdom is forged in the steady rhythm of daily practice. Just as a blacksmith hammers metal bit by bit until it takes shape, your mind needs small, deliberate strikes each day to grow sharper and stronger. Inspiration can spark action, but it's consistency that sustains real transformation. Stoic rituals as tools. Seneca advised, "Every man finds himself at some period or other confronted by difficulties that test him to the utmost. Let him not, however, relax his spirit because of external blows, but strengthen his mind by making his soul its own citadel." A citadel isn't built overnight. It rises stone by stone. Your morning reflection, midday pause, and evening review are those stones, simple rituals that accumulate into unshakable inner strength. Personal story, the 30-day challenge. Consider Alex, a financial analyst who felt stuck in rote routines. He longed for depth in his work and life but struggled to find the time. One evening, he committed to a 30-day challenge. Read 10 pages of a philosophical text, write a 2-minute reflection, and pose one Stoic question to himself each day. The effort seemed modest, but within 2 weeks, Alex noticed a subtle shift. His conversations gained substance, his decisions felt more grounded, and he approached challenges with newfound calm. By day 30, he understood that the daily habit was the real achievement, not any single insight. 3 steps to forge your mind. Morning reading, 10 to 15 minutes. Choose a short passage from a Stoic text, philosophy book, or essay that stretches you. Read slowly, savoring each sentence. Let the words settle before moving on. Midday reflection, 5 minutes. Pause in the middle of your day, close your eyes, and recall what you read. Ask yourself, how does this apply to what I'm facing right now? Speak your answer in a sentence or 2. Evening journaling, 5 to 10 minutes. Write down one moment when you practiced discipline of thought. What worked? What felt challenging? End with a question designed to guide tomorrow's reflection. Emotional resonance. You may feel impatience or doubt as you try to maintain this routine. That feeling isn't an obstacle. It's a signal that you're stretching beyond comfort. Acknowledge it with kindness, then return to your practice. Each return is itself a triumph of will and proof that your mind's forge is heating up. Quote commentary. Marcus Aurelius noted, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be." B1. Discussion alone doesn't build character. Action does. Your daily rituals are more than symbolic. They transform intention into reality. With each repetition, you embody the virtues you admire rather than merely contemplating them. Deepen your rituals, vary your sources. Rotate between texts, from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations to modern neuroscience articles on neuroplasticity. Diverse perspectives prevent stale thinking and keep your mind engaged. Add a question deck. Write down 15 Stoic questions. What is within my control? Or am I judging this too quickly? And draw one at random each morning. Let that question guide your reading and reflection. Accountability partner. Share your daily practice with a friend or mentor. A brief check-in via text at day's end can reinforce commitment and provide mutual encouragement. Cultivating patience. Progress often feels invisible. You may complete your rituals faithfully and wonder, has anything changed? The answer is yes. Changes in the deep structures of your mind don't announce themselves like fireworks. Instead, you'll notice in quiet moments, a steadier breath when stress strikes, a clearer solution during a complex problem, or a gentler tone when delivering feedback. Those are the sparks of your forge at work. Stoic wisdom in action. Epictetus taught, "No great thing is created suddenly." He urged his students to embrace small daily tasks, trusting that cumulative effort yields monumental results. When you honor your daily forge, you signal to your subconscious that you value growth over comfort, progress over stagnation. Invitation to commitment. Right now, choose one ritual to start tomorrow. Commit to it for the next 7 days without fail. Notice how each repetition shapes your awareness and anchors your day. As you persist, you'll discover that the forge never cools. You become the living embodiment of disciplined thought and purposeful action. Lesson 6. Read deeply, not widely. Quality over quantity. In a world overflowing with headlines, blog posts, and quick summaries, it's easy to believe that more information makes you smarter. But true insight doesn't arrive from skimming 100 articles. It grows from fully digesting a single powerful idea. When you read deeply, you give yourself permission to slow down, to savor each sentence, and to let your mind wrestle with complexity until clarity emerges. A Stoic perspective. Seneca counseled, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." He wasn't warning against busyness. He was urging thoughtful engagement. Reading should be an act of living, not just passing time. When you treat a book as a companion on your journey rather than a checklist item, you transform each page into a conversation with the past, a mirror for your present, and a guide to your future. Personal story. The annotated margins. Imagine Anna, a software developer who once prided herself on rapid consumption. She finished 10 books a month but felt none of them landed in her soul. Frustrated, she tried a different approach. She selected a single dense volume on logic and annotation. With her pen in hand, she underlined sentences that struck her, wrote questions in the margins, and paused often to close her eyes and let the words reverberate. A week into this practice, she found herself recalling passages without effort and applying the concepts to her code reviews. Anna's transformation wasn't about more reading, it was about richer reading. Engage actively with text. Your mind craves engagement. Passive reading, letting words drift past like scenery through a car window, leaves you unchanged. Instead, approach a passage as a puzzle. Ask, what is the author really saying? How does this idea resonate or conflict with my experience? Where might I test this principle in my life? That questioning breathes life into text, turning it from ink on a page into fuel for your inner fire. Practical, deep reading techniques. 1. Passage focus. Don't rush to the next chapter. When you find a paragraph that resonates, read it 3 times. Each repetition reveals new nuances. Margin dialogues. Write brief reactions in the margins. A question, a challenge, an insight. This creates a record of your evolving thoughts and invites you back into the text later. Silent reflection. After a reading session, close your eyes for 2 minutes. Let the words settle, then note the 3 strongest resonances in your mind. These are the kernels you'll cultivate in action. Quote commentary. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Don't let your reflection on the whole sweep of life crush you. Don't fill your mind with all the bad things that might still happen. Stay focused on the present situation and ask yourself why it's so unbearable and couldn't be survived." Though he spoke of existential perspective, the same applies to reading. Don't overwhelm yourself with every idea in the world. Instead, zero in on one passage that holds meaning for you and explore it until your mind absorbs its wisdom. Emotional resonance. You may feel impatience when you shift from speed reading to deep reading. That restlessness is a signal that your mind is relearning focus. Honor that discomfort as you would an old habit letting go. With each intentional pause, breathe into the richness of a single idea and feel the satisfaction that comes from genuine understanding rather than fleeting acknowledgement. Cultivating lasting impact. Deep reading isn't a solitary ritual. It should ripple into your daily life. After you finish a session, teach what you've learned. Explain the passage to a colleague or friend. Teaching forces clarity. Apply a principle. Choose one actionable insight, perhaps a mindset shift or a small behavior change, and commit to practicing it that day. Revisit and reflect. A week later, return to your marginal notes. Notice how your perception has evolved. This cycle of read, reflect, act, and revisit cements insights in your being. Stoic wisdom in action. Epictetus reminded his students, what upsets people is not things themselves, but their judgments about these things. When you read deeply, you're practicing the discipline of questioning your judgments. You learn to distinguish surface impressions from core truths. This discernment becomes a habit that shapes not only your reading, but how you approach every situation. Invitation to practice. Today, pick one paragraph that speaks to you, perhaps from Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, or a modern thinker whose words stir something inside. Read it slowly with pen in hand and let your mind settle into its rhythms. Notice how your heart responds, how your thoughts shift, and what actions that passage might inspire. Over time, these moments of deep engagement will forge an intellect that doesn't just know, but lives wisdom. Lesson 7. Return to beginner's courage. Embrace the beginner's mind. When you commit to mastering one domain, it's tempting to stick with familiar skills, yet genius often sprouts where you feel clumsy. Adopting a beginner's mind means welcoming awkwardness as a sign of growth. Each time you approach something entirely new, whether it's painting, playing a musical instrument, or learning a foreign language, you breathe fresh air into your thoughts and awaken dormant neural pathways. The Stoic perspective. Seneca warned against the arrogance of knowing too much. There is no more grievous bondage than keeping a mind shut up to its own knowledge. True freedom arrives when you realize that every day is an invitation to learn from scratch. The Stoics didn't claim mastery. They embraced curiosity, using each challenge to test and refine their reason. A personal story. The first dance class. Imagine you sign up for a ballroom dance class at 40, heart pounding as you step onto the floor. Your feet feel foreign, your posture uncertain, and each turn threatens to lead to embarrassment. Yet in that vulnerability, you find exhilarating focus. That's exactly what happened to Michael, a software architect who thought creativity had left him. He enrolled in dance to break the monotony. At first, each step felt mechanical, too slow or too fast. But after several weeks, he noticed something surprising. His mind was more alert at work. He greeted complex coding problems with playful experimentation, and he felt alive in ways he hadn't experienced in years. Michael's willingness to start as a complete novice reactivated his creative instincts. Why clumsiness matters. When you're new at something, your brain lights up with novelty. Neurons sprout, synapses fire in unfamiliar patterns, and you feel that delicious tension of not knowing. That tension is the friction that generates growth. If you skip the beginner's stage to chase comfort or competence, you deprive your mind of the very stimulus that keeps it flexible, inventive, and alive. Practical steps to cultivate beginner's courage. Pick an alien task. Choose an activity you've never tried, perhaps calligraphy, rock climbing, or coding. Schedule at least 3 sessions this week. Notice the urge to bail when you feel inept. That's your resistance signaling a worthwhile challenge. Set process goals. Focus on small milestones like drawing 1 neat curve or climbing 1 rope length, rather than proficiency. Each tiny success celebrates the journey, not just the outcome. Journal your foolish moments. At the end of each session, write down 1 moment you felt awkward and 1 insight it sparked. Over time, you'll see how discomfort guided you to unexpected clarity. Quote, reflection. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Don't be ashamed of needing help." You have a duty to fulfill, just like a soldier on the wall. Learning something new is no different from calling for guidance in battle. When you admit you're a beginner, you open yourself to wisdom from teachers, peers, and the experience itself. Emotional resonance. You might feel a flicker of shame or impatience when you fumble through new tasks. That is your old identity whispering, "You should already know this." Gently acknowledge that voice, then return your focus to the present moment. With each repetition, you replace judgment with curiosity, and each clumsy attempt becomes evidence of your courage, connecting to your inner strength. Beginner's courage is not an abstract concept. It's an invitation to rediscover the parts of you that once delighted in discovery. Remember how a child's eyes widened at each new sight? You can reclaim that wonder by giving yourself permission to be messy, imperfect, and gloriously human. That permission unlocks reservoirs of confidence, creativity, and resilience you thought were lost to routine. Stoic wisdom in action. Epictetus taught that progress lies in persistent effort. First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. If you aspire to live a life rich in insight, start by doing what beginners do. Ask questions, stumble, and learn. Your repeated commitment to new experiences shapes not only your skills, but the very contours of your character. Invitation to begin again. Today, choose 1 skill you've always admired but never attempted. Commit to 1 week of beginner's practice. No excuses, no comparisons. As you step into the realm of the unknown, notice how your mind stretches, how your spirit brightens, and how your connection to life deepens. This is the essence of Stoic wisdom: the humility to begin again, the discipline to persist, and the courage to become the person you long to be. Looking ahead. With your beginner's mind activated, you're ready for the next lesson, recoding your inner dialogue. Lesson 8, where you'll learn to speak to yourself with the kindness and firmness needed to sustain this journey of perpetual growth. Lesson 8, recode your inner dialogue. Your words shape your reality. Every sentence you tell yourself is like a brushstroke on the canvas of your mind. If your self-talk whispers, "I'm not good enough," you paint a gloomy landscape. But when you choose kinder, more empowering words, you transform that scene into one of possibility. Your inner dialogue is not fixed. It's a programmable tool that either frees you or confines you. A Stoic insight. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." He knew that the language you use internally carries immense weight. When you catch yourself slipping into blame, doubt, or despair, you have the power to interrupt the loop and recast your narrative. In that moment, you exercise the very discipline that defines true Stoic practice. Personal story, the mirror of words. Imagine you stand before a mirror every morning and recite your daily intentions. For years, David's ritual was half-hearted. "I guess I can try to be productive today." He felt stale, unmotivated, and convinced his goals were out of reach. Then he encountered Epictetus's words, No man is free who is not master of himself. Inspired, David rewrote his mirror script. I am capable. I choose focus. I embrace today's challenges. Over time, those phrases became anchors for his actions. He noticed fewer moments of hesitation and more small wins, finishing tasks, speaking up in meetings, and meeting his commitments. His mirror no longer reflected doubt. It revealed a man in command of his mind. The biology of self-talk. Modern neuroscience shows that repetitive thought patterns strengthen the neural pathways that underpin them. If you replay self-limiting beliefs, you deepen those grooves in your brain. But if you deliberately introduce new constructive phrases, affirmations rooted in reality and effort, you begin to carve fresh channels that support confidence, resilience, and creativity. Practical steps to recode your dialogue. Identify the script. For one day, note each negative thought without judgment. Write them down. Awareness is the first step to change. Challenge and replace. For every negative entry, ask, is this absolutely true? Then rephrase it into an actionable, compassionate statement. I'm learning. I can improve. Or, I am in control of my focus. Daily affirmation. Ritual. Each morning and evening, read your new statements aloud. Speak them with conviction, as if you believe them fully, even if you don't yet feel them completely. Over time, your brain will begin to sync with your speech. Cultivating emotional discipline. Changing your inner dialogue isn't about forced optimism or ignoring real challenges. It's about precise language that acknowledges facts without amplifying fear or doubt. When you feel anxiety creeping in, try this reframing. Instead of saying, I'm terrified of failing, say, I acknowledge this discomfort and will proceed with steady effort. That shift honors your emotion while refusing to surrender to it. Quote commentary. Seneca observed, true happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future. Notice how the phrase anxious dependence reveals a self-constructed trap. By recoding your inner commentary from I can't handle what's next to I will focus on what I control now, you step out of that trap and into a mindset of purposeful action. Emotional resonance. You may feel resistance as you first confront your habitual self-talk. That friction is real, but it also marks the boundary between your old self and the person you're becoming. Greet that resistance with curiosity. What am I afraid to let go of? What new story am I willing to embrace? Building consistency. Rewiring your self-talk takes repetition. Schedule 3 check-ins, morning, midday, and evening. Each time, pause for a breath and scan your mind. If you detect a limiting thought, apply your replacement script. Over days and weeks, these interventions will become second nature, gradually replacing outdated tapes with empowering mantras. Stoic wisdom in action. Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction resides first in your inner dialogue. When you recode that narrative, you gain mastery over your emotional and intellectual responses. You no longer simply endure life. You direct your attention, shape your beliefs, and choose your path. Invitation to transformation. Right now, choose one limiting belief you've carried. Perhaps, I'm too old to learn, or I'm not creative. Write it down. Then craft a new statement that reflects your commitment to change. Every day I expand my skills, or creativity flows when I give it space. Repeat that statement aloud with intention. Let it echo in your mind until it becomes the dominant voice. Lesson 9. Master your emotions to empower your mind. Emotional clarity as true strength. Often, you may believe that emotions are distractions, obstacles that cloud your reasoning. Yet, emotional intelligence is the cornerstone of genuine wisdom. When you learn to observe and channel your feelings rather than suppress or surrender to them, you transform emotions into allies that guide you toward clearer choices. A Stoic truth. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who cannot command himself." Freedom, the Stoics knew, isn't granted by external circumstances, but by inner mastery. Your emotions may arise unbidden, but how you interpret and direct them lies within your grasp. In that power rests your greatest resilience. Personal story, the manager's calm. Picture yourself in a high-stakes meeting, heart racing as tensions flare. That was Maria, a creative director who once feared conflict. When her boss publicly criticized her team's work, she felt the urge to snap back. Instead, she paused, acknowledged the heat in her chest, and asked herself, "What outcome do I truly want?" Choosing composure over retaliation, she offered constructive solutions. Her calm response shifted the conversation from blame to collaboration, and she earned respect not for suppressing her feelings, but for managing them wisely. Recognize before you react. The first step in emotional mastery is awareness. Notice the physical signals, tight chest, shallow breath, clenched jaw, that herald an emotional surge. Label the feeling: frustration, fear, disappointment. This simple act of naming interrupts the automatic chain reaction, giving your rational mind a moment to engage. Practical steps to cultivate emotional intelligence. Daily reflection. Each evening, journal one moment when emotion threatened to take over and describe how you responded. Over time, you'll detect patterns and gain insight into your triggers. The pause technique. When you feel intense emotion, count to 5 before speaking or deciding. Use that pause to center yourself on your values rather than your impulses. Active listening. In conversations, focus fully on the speaker's words and tone. Notice any emotional reactions in yourself, then choose a calm, thoughtful reply instead of a knee-jerk response. Quote commentary. Seneca wrote, "Anger, if not restrained, is frequently more hurtful to us than the injury that provokes it." Anger can burn away reason if you let it. By tempering that fire with mindful observation, you use its energy to fuel constructive action rather than destructive outbursts, transforming discomfort into growth. You might feel vulnerable when you examine your emotions instead of glossing over them. That vulnerability is a sign of courage, the willingness to look at yourself with brutal honesty. Each time you choose reflection over reaction, you reinforce the neural circuitry of self-control and empathy, making emotional storms less overwhelming. Empathy as a form of wisdom. Emotional intelligence isn't just about managing your own feelings. It also involves perceiving others' emotions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to consider that every person you meet is fighting a hard battle you may never see. When you approach others with that empathy, you diffuse conflicts and build deeper trust. In doing so, you uphold the Stoic ideal of acting for the common good, not just personal triumph. Cultivating inner resilience. Mindful breathing. Set aside 2 minutes 3 times a day to practice deep, even breaths. Focus solely on the rise and fall of your chest. This simple discipline trains you to return to calm even when external pressures mount. Emotional anchors. Choose a phrase, "I choose clarity" or "I remain steady," and repeat it silently during moments of tension. Like a lighthouse guiding ships through fog, your anchor phrase keeps you grounded. Emotional mastery in action. Imagine facing a setback, a project you poured your heart into fails. Without emotional intelligence, you might spiral into self-criticism or denial. But with mastery, you feel the sting of disappointment, acknowledge it, and ask, "What lesson does this hold?" In that pivot, you transform pain into insight, emerging wiser and more prepared for the next challenge. Invitation to practice. Tonight, recall a moment when an emotion caught you off guard. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and relive the scene. Now, without judgment, identify the emotion and ask yourself what it was trying to tell you. Perhaps it's a need for boundary, recognition, or rest. Acknowledge that message, then plan one small step you can take tomorrow to honor it. Lesson 10. Fuel your clarity with nutrition. The body-mind connection. Your mind doesn't live in isolation. It resides in a body that demands nourishment. When you reach for sugary snacks or processed convenience foods, you feed short-lived spikes of energy and equally sharp crashes of focus. But when you choose whole, nutrient-dense meals, vegetables, lean proteins, healthy fats, you give your brain the steady fuel it needs for clear thinking and emotional balance. Recognize that every bite you take is an investment in your capacity to reason, to stay calm, and to respond intentionally. A Stoic reminder. Seneca observed, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Yet if your body is starved for proper nutrients, you may imagine fatigue, anxiety, or mental fog as inevitable." The Stoics taught that self-mastery begins with tending to the basics of life. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "When you have trouble getting out of bed in the morning, remember that your defining characteristic, what defines a human being, is to work with others. You can't bring your full self to collaboration if your brain is craving a stable foundation." Personal story. The breakfast revelation. Imagine waking each day with a bowl of instant oatmeal and a cup of sugary coffee, believing that caffeine can mask the underlying fatigue. That was Amelia's routine. She felt constantly drained, her concentration slipping during meetings, and her mood swinging unpredictably. One weekend, she experimented with a simple change: a breakfast of Greek yogurt with nuts and berries, plus a cup of green tea. Within days, she noticed her thoughts felt sharper, her patience extended, and her energy steadier throughout the morning. That small shift taught her that food isn't just fuel, it's a tool for mental clarity. Practical steps for mindful eating plan. Balanced meals. Each plate should include a source of protein, eggs, legumes, fish, healthy fats, avocado, nuts, olive oil, and fiber-rich carbohydrates, vegetables, whole grains. This combination stabilizes blood sugar and sustains focus. Hydrate intentionally. Your brain is more than 70% water. Carry a water bottle and aim for steady sips throughout the day. Dehydration can mimic symptoms of confusion or irritability. Limit processed sugars. Swap sodas and pastries for fruit or a small handful of dark chocolate. Gradual reduction prevents cravings without demanding extreme restriction. Quote, Commentary Epictetus reminded us, "First say to yourself what kind of person you want to be, and then do what you have to do." If you aspire to be a clear-minded thinker, your plate is your first action step. Choosing to eat well isn't deprivation. It's the discipline of aligning your daily habits with your highest values. Emotional resonance. You might feel frustration when you first try to overhaul your diet. Old cravings can feel like urgent demands. That tension is the friction between habit and ambition. Acknowledge the discomfort, then reframe it as evidence that you're breaking new ground. Each healthy choice strengthens your resolve and signals to your subconscious that you value clarity over convenience. Cultivating nutritional discipline. Meal prep ritual. Dedicate an hour each weekend to prepare simple recipes: roasted vegetables, grilled chicken, quinoa salads. Having nourishing options on hand prevents impulsive decisions when time is tight. Mindful eating practice. Before each meal, take a breath and set an intention. I eat to fuel my mind and body. Pause halfway through to check in with your hunger and satisfaction levels. Accountability. Habit. Use a digital tracker or a small notebook to record each meal's components. This act of observation increases awareness and subtly motivates you to make balanced choices. Long-term benefits. Over weeks, you'll notice improvements beyond mental clarity, more consistent energy, deeper sleep, and a greater sense of well-being. Those physical gains amplify your Stoic practice. When your body supports you, your mind can focus on higher pursuits, disciplined thinking, creative problem-solving, and compassionate action. Invitation to action. Tomorrow morning, try adding one mindful element to your routine. A slice of whole grain toast with almond butter, a handful of blueberries, or simply an extra glass of water before reaching for coffee. Observe how that single change influences your mood, focus, and inner calm. Let this small step be a reminder that true intelligence isn't just born in the mind, it's cultivated in every meal you choose. Lesson 11. Movement as brain medicine. Your body shapes your mind. When you think of sharpening your intellect, you might picture books or puzzles, but your body plays an equally vital role. Every time you move, blood rushes to your brain, delivering oxygen and nutrients while clearing away toxic byproducts. Exercise isn't just about muscle tone or weight management. It's a powerful prescription for mental clarity, resilience, and emotional balance. A Stoic perspective. Seneca observed, "While we are postponing, life speeds by." Life, he meant, rushes past when we remain inert. The Stoics didn't separate mind and body. They saw them as integrated. Marcus Aurelius noted in Meditations, "Observe always that everything is the result of change. Movement embodies change in its purest form, reminding you that stagnation dulls both body and soul." Personal story. The morning run awakening. Imagine waking early on a brisk autumn morning, lacing up your shoes with reluctance because you're tired and the world feels heavy. That was Jacob, a marketing manager besieged by stress and creative block. He decided to honor his body with a simple promise, a 20-minute run each morning before work. The first week was brutal, shaky legs, pounding lungs, and an urge to quit. Yet by the second week, a quiet transformation took root. As Jacob pushed through the discomfort, his mind cleared. Complex marketing strategies fell into place more easily, his patience with colleagues deepened, and anxiety lost its grip. Jacob discovered that movement wasn't punishment, it was a question to his mind. Are you awake? The science behind the stride. Modern research confirms that aerobic exercise stimulates the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF, a protein that fosters the growth of new neurons and strengthens synaptic connections. In simpler terms, movement literally builds your brain's architecture. Exercise also reduces cortisol, the stress hormone that impairs memory and focus, and increases endorphins, lifting your mood and creative spark. Practical steps to activate brain medicine. Start small. If 20 minutes feels daunting, begin with a 5-minute brisk walk. Consistency matters more than intensity. Mix it up. Alternate cardio, running, cycling, with strength and flexibility exercises, bodyweight movements, stretching, to engage different brain regions and prevent monotony. Schedule your ritual. Treat your workout as non-negotiable, like a meeting with yourself. Block it into your calendar and honor the commitment. Quote, commentary Epictetus taught, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. If your goal is a keen, resilient mind, you must do what your ancestors did. Move." There is no substitute for the biological conversation between muscle and neuron. a dialogue that only unfolds through the rhythm of your steps or the stretch of your limbs. Emotional resonance. You may feel resistance, the pull of the warm bed, the allure of the couch, or the self-doubt whispering, "You don't have time." Recognize these feelings as part of the challenge. When you rise above them, you reaffirm your commitment to yourself. That alone breeds confidence and deepens the trust between your mind and body. Cultivating mindful movement. Focus on sensation. Rather than zoning out with music or a podcast, occasionally run or walk in silence. Notice your breath, footfalls, and the world passing by. This practice merges physical movement with mental presence. Reflect on progress. Keep a simple log of your workouts, noting how you felt before and after. Over time, you'll see patterns, days when movement lifted your mood most or when a short walk unlocked fresh ideas. Integrate micro breaks. Set a timer to stand, stretch, or take a quick walk every hour if you work sedentary hours. These mini breaks rejuvenate focus and keep your mind from stagnating. Long-term benefits. As you weave movement into your routine, you'll notice subtle shifts. Fewer mid-afternoon energy slumps, more vivid dreams, and a steadier response to stress. These gains compound, strengthening your mental resilience and emotional equilibrium. Your exercise practice becomes more than a health habit. It becomes the backbone of your Stoic training. Invitation to action. Tomorrow morning, commit to one intentional movement. A walk around the block, a set of push-ups in your living room, or a series of stretches at your desk. Notice how your mind wakes in concert with your body. Let that synergy remind you that you are a living being, mind and muscle entwined in service of a sharper, steadier intellect. Lesson 12. Spark creativity through art, music. Creativity beyond logic. Your mind has been trained to analyze, to categorize, to solve problems. But creativity thrives in a different space, one where logic bows to intuition. When you immerse yourself in art or music, you open a gateway to unexpected connections. That silent melody or brushstroke reminds you that insight often arrives not through force, but through gentle invitation. A Stoic perspective. Seneca wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Art and music signal the end of rigid thought patterns and the beginning of fresh perspectives. Marcus Aurelius noted in Meditations, "Dwell on the beauty of life, watch the stars and see yourself running with them." Though he described cosmic wonder, you can experience a similar expansion by simply listening to a piece of music you've never heard or gazing upon an unfamiliar painting. Personal story. The painter's pause. Picture yourself at a blank canvas, brush in hand. That was Leah, a project manager whose days were filled with spreadsheets and schedules. She felt her imagination slipping away and her decisions growing mechanical. One weekend, she joined a painting class, determined only to show up. Her first strokes were hesitant, colors mixed awkwardly, shapes felt forced. Yet in that vulnerability, Leah discovered an exhilarating freedom. As she stepped back from the canvas, she sensed ideas flowing more freely at work. She approached presentations with fresh imagery and team meetings with renewed enthusiasm. Leah realized that art had unlocked wells of creativity she thought were long dried. The neuroscience of beauty. Modern studies reveal that engaging with art and music activates the prefrontal cortex, the area responsible for creativity, memory, and emotional regulation. Music, especially complex genres like classical or jazz, stimulates the corpus callosum, enhancing communication between brain hemispheres. Visual art encourages the brain to form new neural pathways, linking sensory perception with abstract thought. In essence, art and music are exercises for your mind. gently bending it toward innovation. Practical steps to ignite creativity. Daily listening ritual. Each day, set aside 5 minutes to listen to a piece of music you've never heard before. Notice rhythms, melodies, and emotions that arise. 5-minute doodle. Keep a notepad and pen nearby. When you feel stuck, sketch whatever comes to mind for 5 minutes. No judgment, no erasing. Let the pen guide your thoughts. Art exposure break. Choose one artwork, painting, sculpture, photograph, and spend 2 minutes observing its details. Ask yourself, what story is it telling? How does it make me feel? Quote, commentary Epictetus observed, "We are not disturbed by what happens to us, but by our thoughts about what happens." Art doesn't demand analysis. It demands presence. When you allow yourself to simply experience rather than judge, you step out of mental rumination and into creative openness. Emotional resonance. You may feel a twinge of self-consciousness when you first engage in creative acts, perhaps a fear of looking foolish or producing something imperfect. That nervous flutter is a marker of growth. Creativity requires the courage to be vulnerable, to let beauty and discomfort coexist. Embrace that blend of excitement and uncertainty. It signals that your mind is expanding its comfort zone. Cultivating a creative practice. Curate a personal soundtrack. Build a playlist of diverse genres: Baroque, ambient, Afrobeat, electronic. Rotate tracks weekly to keep your mind curious. Visit local galleries. Even a short visit can spark new ideas. Notice how different artists harness color, light, and form. Share your experience. Discuss a song or artwork with a friend. Explaining what moved you reinforces your insights and invites fresh perspectives. Long-term transformations. Over time, these small creative rituals weave into your cognitive tapestry. You'll find that your habitual thought patterns loosen, making room for novel solutions. Meetings that once felt dull become canvases for imaginative proposals. Challenges transform into invitations to innovate. Your creative muscle, like any other, strengthens with use. Invitation to create today. Right now, pause and choose one simple act. Play an unfamiliar song, sketch a single line curve, or close your eyes and envision a color. Notice how your mind responds. Does it quicken, soften, question? Let that response guide you toward deeper discovery. Lesson 13. Learn one thing, do one thing, bridging knowledge and action. It's easy to consume idea after idea, reading books, watching talks, collecting quotes, yet still feel stuck when it comes to real change. True transformation begins when you bridge the gap between learning and doing. Each new insight must be tested in the laboratory of your life. When you learn one principle and immediately apply one action, you solidify understanding and ignite momentum. A Stoic principle in practice, Epictetus insisted, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Philosophy, after all, isn't theory for display. It's a guide for living. When you translate lessons into actions, no matter how small, you honor the Stoic ideal of integrity between thought and deed. Personal story. The morning gratitude call. Imagine you finish a video on gratitude and feel a warm surge of appreciation. That feeling could fade in minutes if you don't act. That happened to Noah, a financial consultant who often ended his days overwhelmed by stress. Inspired by a Stoic reflection, he decided to make a simple call each evening to someone he appreciated, parent, friend, or mentor. 3 minutes of heartfelt thanks. At first, it felt awkward. Yet within a week, Noah noticed a shift. His sleep deepened, his mood stabilized, and his relationships grew richer. By learning one thing, the power of gratitude, and doing one thing, making the call, Noah rewired his emotional baseline. Practical steps to turn insight into impact. One principle, one action. After each reading or video lesson, choose one key takeaway and pair it with a concrete action you can do within the next hour. If you learn about mindful breathing, breathe consciously for 1 minute. If you discover the value of asking questions, pose one to a colleague. Micro experiments. Treat each action as an experiment. Record your intention. Today I will pause before reacting, and at day's end, note the result. Did you pause? What changed? This practice cultivates curiosity without pressure. Accountability reminder. Place a sticky note or phone reminder stating your chosen action. A visual cue in your workspace or a gentle alarm on your phone reinforces the link between learning and doing. Quote commentary: Marcus Aurelius observed, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Debate and reflection have their place, but the Stoics emphasized embodiment. When you learn about self-control, practice it in your next interaction. When you read about courage, act bravely in a small moment, like voicing truth when it matters. Emotional resonance. You may feel hesitation or self-doubt at first, wondering if your small action truly matters. Acknowledge that whisper of uncertainty. It marks the boundary between your comfort zone and growth. Every step you take beyond that line builds confidence and dissolves fear. Deepening the practice. Daily reflection journal. Write down your chosen action each morning and reflect each evening on its effect. Over weeks, you'll spot patterns, which actions resonated most, which challenges persisted, and how the sum of small steps reshaped your mindset. Pair and share. Find a partner with whom to exchange daily, learn and do commitments. Sharing your intention amplifies motivation, and debriefing your experiences enriches insight. Scale thoughtfully. Once a micro-action becomes comfortable, amplify its scope. If pausing for one mindful breath became automatic, extend it to 3 breaths before each meeting. Growth thrives on progressive challenge. Cultivating consistency. Consistency in linking learning to doing is more transformative than sporadic grand gestures. Small, repeated actions accumulate like deposits in the bank of your character. Each deposit, however modest, earns interest over time, yielding compounded growth in clarity, resilience, and self-mastery. Stoic wisdom in action. Seneca urged, "While we are postponing, life speeds by. If you wait for the perfect moment, you lose momentum." The Stoic path is paved with immediate, imperfect steps, actions taken today, not promised tomorrow. Invitation to embody change. Right now, think back to one principle that resonated with you: discipline, empathy, curiosity, or courage. Write it down. Then, decide on one concrete action you can take in the next hour to embody that principle. Maybe you'll offer genuine praise to someone, ask a question to learn rather than judge, or take a moment of silence before answering an email. Do it. Note how it feels. That simple experiment carves a new groove in your life's narratives. Lesson 14. Question first. Believe later. The courage of doubt. You may have grown accustomed to quick answers, affirmations that confirm your worldview, and social media feeds that echo your beliefs. Yet true freedom emerges when you dare to doubt, to interrogate your own convictions before embracing them. Socratic questioning isn't a tool for cynicism. It's a pathway to clarity. By asking why and what if I'm mistaken, before accepting any claim, you protect your mind from the subtle trap of unquestioned assumptions. A Socratic legacy. Socrates declared, "The unexamined life is not worth living." He walked the streets of Athens, not to boast wisdom, but to expose ignorance, his own and that of others. He believed that genuine knowledge arises only when you submit every idea to rigorous inquiry. In your journey, you follow in his footsteps by refusing to swallow any statement, no matter how popular, without first chewing on it with thoughtful questions. Personal story, the false headlines. Imagine opening your news app and reading a sensational headline that confirms your biases. Your heart races with indignation or delight, and you're ready to share it. That happened to Olivia, a teacher who valued informed discourse. She noticed her initial eagerness to click share and paused. She remembered the Stoic principle to distinguish between what is within your control and what is not. Olivia clicked through to the original source, sought the underlying evidence, and discovered the claim was misleading. By questioning first, she prevented herself from spreading falsehood and conserved her mental energy for honest debate. Practical steps to build critical inquiry, the 4 pillars of questioning. When you encounter a new claim, ask, who is making this claim and what might their motivation be? What evidence supports it, and how reliable is that evidence? Are there credible counter-arguments or data that challenge it? Why does this idea resonate with me? Does it comfort me or challenge me? Daily debate practice. Choose one belief you hold, political, social, or personal. Spend 5 minutes arguing the opposite position, either in writing or aloud. This reverses your mental path and uncovers hidden biases. Socratic circles. Form a small group, friends or colleagues, and agree to question one topic each week. Take turns asking gentle yet probing questions, focusing on understanding rather than winning an argument. Quote, commentary, Epictetus reminded his followers, "It's impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." When you assume you're right, you close the door on discovery. By cultivating a mindset of "I don't know yet," you keep that door ajar, welcoming fresh perspectives that sharpen your intellect and expand your humanity. Emotional resonance. You might feel an uneasy tension when you challenge deeply held beliefs, an echo of identity trembling at its foundations. That is precisely the emotion you want to honor. It signals growth. By sitting with discomfort, you demonstrate to yourself that your allegiance is to truth, not to ego. Each moment of doubt is an invitation to refine your understanding and fortify your mental freedom. Cultivating intellectual humility. Daily reflection. Prompt. At day's end, note one statement you accepted without questioning. Reflect on how you might have tested it. This small habit turns everyday interactions into opportunities for critical practice. Evidence log. Keep a simple log of claims you encounter, news items, personal advice, self-talk. For each, jot down the source, evidence, and potential biases. Over time, you'll build a practiced eye for discerning reliability. Mindful pause. Before forwarding an article or voicing an opinion, pause and take 3 slow breaths. Use that pause to apply at least one of the 4 pillars. This reframes impulse as intention and keeps your mind engaged rather than reactive. Long-term transformations. As you integrate Socratic questioning into your daily life, you'll notice fewer mental shortcuts and more deliberate, balanced judgments. Conversations transform from echo chambers to spaces of shared exploration. Your ability to navigate complexity grows, and you become a beacon of thoughtful engagement rather than a mere amplifier of hearsay. Stoic wisdom in action. Seneca advised, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." When you chart your course with curiosity and skepticism, you navigate life's currents with confidence. Questioning isn't aimless doubt. It's the compass that keeps you oriented toward genuine insight rather than comforting illusions. Invitation to practice. Right now, recall the last claim you accepted, a health tip, a motivational quote, or a social media post. Ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? What evidence is missing? How might I test it? Let that single inquiry be your first step into a richer, more disciplined practice of truth-seeking. Lesson 15. Shine light on hidden patterns, your unconscious scripts you carry, beliefs you rarely question. I'm not creative, I'll never be decisive, or I'm just not a math person. These aren't truths, but echoes of past judgments, repeated so often they sound like facts. They run beneath your awareness, steering your choices and limiting your potential. Recognizing these hidden scripts is the first step to reclaiming freedom. A Stoic insight Epictetus taught, it's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that matters. Beneath every emotional reaction and habitual thought lies an interpretation shaped by earlier experiences. When you shine the light of awareness on these automatic patterns, you interrupt the old programming and open space for deliberate choice. Personal story, the procrastination loop. Imagine you sit down to write an important report, but instead of starting, you find yourself scrolling through emails or tidying your desk. That avoidance isn't laziness, it's your mind running a familiar script. I fear not being perfect. That was Chris's story. He believed procrastination meant he lacked discipline. One evening he paused and asked, "What am I afraid of?" He realized perfectionism paralyzed him. By acknowledging that fear, he reframed the script. Done is better than perfect. With that new mantra, he set a 10-minute timer and began writing. The first draft was messy, but it existed, and from there, he refined it. Chris discovered that by naming his unseen pattern, he could rewrite it. The neuroscience of awareness. Modern research reveals that when you observe a thought or emotion without judgment, you activate the brain's prefrontal cortex, your seat of self-awareness. This observer effect weakens the automatic response of the amygdala, the brain's emotional center, and strengthens your capacity for conscious choice. In essence, self-observation rewires your brain for autonomy. Practical steps to reveal and reprogram, pause and label. When you feel a strong emotion or notice procrastination, pause, label the experience. This is frustration, or this is fear of failure. Naming it interrupts your autopilot. Trace the origin. Ask, when have I felt this before? Recalling a memory helps you connect the emotion to its root script. Create a counter script. Write a clear, affirmative statement that opposes the old pattern. I trust my ability to learn, or I embrace progress over perfection. Repeat it during moments of doubt. Emotional resonance. You might feel a subtle shock the first time you observe your inner script. It's like discovering a hidden room in your own house. That shock can be unsettling, but it's also liberating. The moment you realize you are not your patterns, you are the conscious observer who can choose new paths. Cultivating continuous awareness, mindful journaling. Each evening, jot down one moment when your old script surfaced. Record how you noticed it, what you felt, and how you applied your counterscript. Over weeks, you'll map patterns and track your growth. Mind-body check-ins. Set gentle reminders to scan your body for tension or unease. Often, physical sensations signal unconscious thoughts. Tight shoulders might reveal anxiety. A knot in your stomach might herald dread. Acknowledge both without judgment. Affirmation. Ritual. Display your counterscript where you'll see it. On your desk, mirror, or phone lock screen. Let it anchor you when old patterns re-emerge. Stoic wisdom in action. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. By observing and reprogramming your inner scripts, you wield that power. You shift from reactive to proactive living, shaping your experience from the inside out. Invitation to begin. Right now, close your eyes and breathe deeply for 3 cycles. Recall a moment today when you felt stuck or triggered. Gently ask, "What belief was running me?" Listen. Then imagine replacing it with your chosen counterscript. Feel the possibility of moving differently next time. Looking ahead. As you learn to observe and reprogram, you complete the circle of Stoic transformation, from recognizing duty to sharpening mind and body to embodying wisdom in action. Your final step is not an endpoint, but the daily practice of living as the conscious author of your own story, choosing each thought, each action with clarity and purpose. Conclusion. You've walked through 15 transformative Stoic lessons, each step designed to awaken your potential, sharpen your clarity, and anchor you in purposeful living. From embracing intelligence as a moral duty to shining light on hidden mental patterns, you now carry a toolkit for continual growth. Remember that true wisdom isn't a destination but a daily practice, a choice to question assumptions, embody what you learn, and nurture your mind and body with intention. As you move forward, revisit these lessons regularly. Let silence and self-reflection guide you. Fuel your clarity with nourishing food and invigorating movement. Spark creativity through art and music, and bridge knowledge to action with small, deliberate experiments. Above all, cultivate the courage to doubt, to ask better questions, and to reprogram the stories you tell yourself. If these insights resonated with you, please like this video and share which lessons spoke to you most in the comments below. And to continue this journey with the Stoic philosophy, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss an exploration of timeless wisdom. Your transformation continues now. Step boldly, reflect deeply, and live stoically with the Stoic philosophy.